Working with veterans every day, one of the most frustrating things we see and veterans experience is getting denied for a VA disability claim, even though they clearly have the condition. You may have years of medical records. You may have seen many doctors and specialists over the years. You may have even had the VA acknowledge the diagnosis, and yet they still deny the claim. So, what's going on? The biggest misunderstanding in VA disability claims is this. The VA is not just evaluating whether a condition exists. That's something that they are evaluating whether the condition is connected to service or another service-connected condition. And establishing that connection, the VA will look typically at those three core elements. There are the three pillars of what VA disability stands on. The first element is a current diagnosis. A diagnosis is a medical determination that identifies a disease or condition based on symptoms, testing, or clinical evaluation. But there is one piece that is unique to the VA. You could be rated for chronic pain alone, but it needs to be documented in your medical records. So if you have something documented such as chronic knee pain, that's sufficient enough. You don't need something like migraines, degenerative disc disease to be considered a diagnosis. But your symptoms, your condition must be documented in medical records. Otherwise, you're leaving it to chance for the C&P examiner to diagnose you with a condition. The VA may determine that there's no disability to evaluate. The second element that's most important is something happened during service. This could be many things. It could be a documented injury, an exposure to toxins, other chemicals, loud noises, physical strain, a repetitive injury documented in service that you would not have had otherwise if you didn't serve. The documented symptoms while in service can be important. However, secondary conditions, something diagnosed after service, can happen as well. In medical language, we sometimes refer to this as an in-service event or an exposure. So this element establishes what might have caused the condition. The third element is what many veterans often are missing. It's a medical nexus. The word nexus in and of itself simply means connection. That connection to service or that connection to a service-connected condition is important. The nexus is a medical explanation describing the how and the why a condition is related to service. That explanation is not often in your regular medical records. That explanation usually requires medical reasoning. A medical provider really needs to dig in and explain why that's connected. It's important because many conditions can develop for multiple reasons. There's a lot of reasons why a condition develops. It doesn't always mean that it's something related to service. For example, migraines may develop during a head injury, stress, genetically in your family, neurological changes or medication effects. There's many reasons why a condition develops. So when the VA is evaluating a claim, they want to understand, why is this condition for this person related to service instead of something else? That explanation is the nexus. That's what we do as medical professionals to rule out other conditions, other causes that are either more likely related to that. Imagine a veteran has a migraine diagnosis in their medical records. The diagnosis is clear, but the records never explain why the migraines are related to service. Without that piece, without that explanation, the VA may conclude that the condition could have developed independently of military service. This is what we see very frequently. So the key takeaway to this is very simple. A diagnosis alone may not be enough. The VA needs to see a medical explanation, something connecting it to service or your service-connected condition. That's where we at MRPY come into play. We understand that, and it's the concept that's most important because it helps explain why some claims are approved while others are denied, even when the veteran clearly has very similar medical evidence documentation